what are your thoughts about the future trend of energy and maybe energy security in the world?
Well, the place to start when we discuss energy is to understand that the price of petroleum, by almost all projections, is likely to increase over time. And at the same time, we have increasing carbon emissions that are threatening the planet. So if you think about these two twin things, our economy has basically been based upon petroleum and petroleum-based products for the better part of a century. And we're facing this crossroads now where we really need to think about ways to reduce our consumption of petroleum and to find other substitute products.
What are some of the options for sustainable energy?
Well, when we think about energy, we should think about it in two different ways. So one way is about energy used to generate electricity. And when you're talking about electricity generation, there are a growing number of options, some of which are more viable at the moment than others. So these would include things like wind power, solar power, geothermal. There are a variety of options along those lines that we could discuss further in detail. And then the second area, of course, is transportation. And as we know, electric vehicles have been introduced to the market, but they're still not competitive. So we have a much thornier problem when it comes to transportation. And that's where biofuels offers one alternative. It won't completely substitute for petroleum, but it can really reduce our consumption of petroleum. Now, of course, all of these things being said, the one thing that people really aren't talking about enough is the most important thing we can do is to reduce our consumption. If you just look at our whole lifestyle and the amount of energy we waste in a given day, or the fact that there are possibilities for energy to be traded across borders. For example, if you have different seasons in Canada and the US, or if you have different time zones across Thailand and Malaysia, you can actually produce the same energy and trade it across these borders. Otherwise, the energy has to be produced only for the peak hours, and then when it's not being used, those energy power plants are being wasted. So there's so many ways that we can improve our use of energy right now.
That method that you mentioned, it appears to be that you need an international mechanism to actually get it moving because you're talking about transborder exchange.
Yes, and that really has been the stumbling block, right? Because the economics all add up for greater cooperation and trade, but the state is needed because we've got these brand new technologies like wind, like solar, and they need a push from the state. In the same way, trading of energy that could save energy needs a push from the state. And I would say individuals are not off the hook either. As consumers, we should be much more aware of how we're using energy. We just turn on a light switch. We don't even think about where that energy comes from or how it was produced. And the state and consumers need to work together to try to change our daily behavior so that we can live in a more sustainable way. So we tend to think about the use of products in a very linear fashion. So we have this conference program here. It's all been produced on this paper. What's going to happen to this paper afterwards? What was the cost of chopping down that wood, and how was that wood transported to the paper company, and what will happen to the paper afterwards? If we really rethink the way we use products from just the beginning when they're raw materials all the way to the end, what can they be used for afterwards, then we can see the possibility of reducing our footprint in a lot of different ways.
Do you see any countries or any models which have done right in terms of efficient consumption and usage of products and energy?
In terms of energy production, Denmark is a very interesting example. They get 20% of their energy from wind power. So it's the leading country in wind power, and they've really transformed their economy. If you go to Denmark, you'll see bicycle lanes everywhere. So bicycles aren't viewed, the automobiles aren't viewed as the status symbol. Actually, the status symbol is to live in a green and friendly way. Another really interesting example is happening in San Francisco now. In San Francisco, the city decided to charge consumers a bit more on their rubbish bills, and they used that extra charge then to make sure that everyone is sorting out all of their garbage, including all food waste, and everything for food waste goes to compost, and everything else is sorted out. So San Francisco is one of the cities that's trying to move towards zero waste. That's their goal.
Would you say that it would be more effective to penalize than to introduce tax incentives when it comes to encouraging, pushing people to go green?
Well, we needed a little bit of both. I mean, we're living in very lean economic times right now. But the way we manage our energy system, the way we produce things, we don't capture the full cost. There are costs to the planet, there are costs to pollution that we as consumers are not paying for, but that our children will pay for. So we should be paying the true cost of creating products and creating energy, and then consumers can become more aware of their lifestyle and the cost that it creates for the planet.
Bringing this discussion closer to home, my home, Malaysia. Okay, we are an emerging economy. We are still growing economy. We consume a lot and we produce lots of pollution at the same time. But we are also looking at more sustainable energy. For example, biomass, and looking at solar. We have summer all year round. And what would you say? What would you foresee moving forward for Malaysia in terms of energy?
I think Malaysia. I'm not an expert on Malaysia, but what I would say is, for Malaysia, the future seems to me to be very bright. It's a country that's blessed with natural resources. It has a very strong education system, and it's had a capable government in terms of economic policy. So if Malaysia puts its mind to it, it could really be a leader in terms of energy management and resource management. I don't need to tell you that Malaysia used to be a large resource producer, a rubber and tin producer, and that was done in a very unsustainable way. So already the economy's been transformed. If they take the same attitude towards the environment, you could see Malaysia becoming a real leader in Southeast Asia.
What about some of the challenges that you foresee in Malaysia?
Well, some of the big challenges came up today in the conference, which is there is a tendency to move towards the lowest cost energy in terms of price. So there was discussion today by some of the people from companies to say Malaysia should increase its use of coal. And we know that coal creates the greatest carbon dioxide emissions of any fuel. So that's something that we really need to avoid at all costs. And it gets back again to recognizing that we as consumers, as citizens of the world, have choices that we need to make. And maybe just looking at the price or the economic cost isn't the only thing we should be looking at.